Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar called Navigating the Path to Purchase, Leveraging Data to Optimize Engagement. I'm Debbie House, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Touchpoints, and I'll be moderating today's presentation. We're honored to be joined today by Aaron Brennan from RedPoint Global, who's going to share insights and real-world case studies highlighting the different types of data you need to deliver unique customer journeys and how to leverage that information you have in real time. This webinar event is the fourth in a series of 7 presented as part of the Retail Touchpoints 2018 Retail Strategy and Planning Series. During this series, attendees have the opportunity to hear from leading industry experts who are discussing the most important topics on retailers' minds today. By registering for one session, attendees have access to all complimentary presentations, both live and on demand. This series is presented by Retail Touchpoints. On this slide, you can find out how to reach us at our retailtouchpoints.com website, on Twitter, and LinkedIn. For those of you who might be new to Retail Touchpoints, here's a quick overview. We're an all-digital media company publishing e-newsletters 3 times a week that go out to our more than 50,000 retail executive subscribers. We cover the industry via daily news, features and special reports, exclusive industry surveys, and multimedia presentations. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our newsletter at retailtouchpoints.com. I'll let you know that we've just announced that registration is open for the 2019 Retail Innovation Conference being held in New York City May 6 to 8. You can find out more at the retailinnovationconference.com site. We hope to see you there. By participating in this Retail Strategy and Planning series, you have the opportunity to win a $10 Starbucks gift card each day and free passes to the 2019 Retail Innovation Conference. Good luck. So for today's presentation, we're using the On24 platform. Right now, you should be viewing the On24 dashboard, which shows the live viewing screen. By clicking on the Questions widget on the right-hand side of the screen, you can type in questions during the live presentation and press Submit. You'll also find a widget named Resources under Questions. There you can download assets our presenters have provided. All you have to do is click on the resource and it'll automatically download. We also invite you to share comments on Twitter during the session using the RSP18 hashtag. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that live feed. If you're not able to attend one or more of the sessions, they're available free to all registrants. You can access them on demand at your convenience. To learn more, go to the Retail Touchpoints website. Before I introduce today's speaker, I want to remind the audience that the presentation is slated for approximately 30 minutes with time for live questions at the end. We invite you to submit questions in the On24 questions area as they come to mind. Our presenter has agreed to stay online following the presentation to respond to your questions. And I also want to point out that the webinar is being recorded and all attendees will receive an archive link to the presentation to go back and review or share with colleagues. Our speaker today is Aaron Brennan, Senior Product Manager at RedPoint Global. Aaron's been launching and managing personalization campaigns for more than 10 years with a focus on lifetime customer engagement. Prior to RedPoint, Aaron managed teams at LogMeIn and Google, growing the Google audience from creation to 520 million users, and he also deployed Google Glass. With that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Aaron. Welcome to you, Aaron.
Thanks, Debbie, and thanks everybody for joining us for today's webinar, Navigating the Path to Purchase, How to Leverage Your Data to Optimize for Customer Engagement. So before we really get started into jumping into how to leverage your data for optimizing customer engagement, I wanted to talk a little bit about the customer. So here we have Johnny Customer, right? Your typical everyday consumer working with brands and engaging with you on a daily basis. Johnny has a smartphone. He's typically on it between 35 and 50 times a day, depending on his age range. How he's actually engaging with that device, though, is a lot different than how he used to engage with these devices from a while ago, before the smartphone came out. The surge in technology has really changed the way we engage with brands and the way that Johnny is actually engaging with your brand on a day-to-day basis. Johnny's expectations has really moved beyond what that typical old thought process was of the engagement practice. So the original engagement practice was really along the lines of static and linear journeys, right? We understand that because Johnny is on his phone all the time now and engaging with stuff, he's not looking for that static journey. He's actually looking for something much more. He wants to engage in different ways with dynamic content that changes with how he expects the brand to work with him. So as you can see in this road here, your old typical journey was very much one long journey that the customer would actually follow you along with. It would stop and make changes and turns, but it was one static path that everyone really needed to follow along with. What happened with that? Well, like we said, with Johnny, with the engagement of technology and the blossoming of how people wanted to engage with those things and how they wanted to work with the brand, they found that brands that did not engage with them the way they wanted to be engaged with, they would ultimately leave. So we're really in the stage of the empowered customer these days. And what that ultimately means is that if customers don't get the expectations, these journeys that they want to go on, they will ultimately leave you. And it doesn't matter how hard it is for a business to make these engagements with their users. The user's expectation is that you will get them and that you will work with them to give them what they want for a customer journey. You can actually see that this has started to take a large toll. With numbers that are coming out on a daily basis, customers have really changed their expectation, and we can see here that even when it comes to just websites, 61% of people said that they are unlikely to return to a website that does not provide a satisfactory customer experience. If you move this beyond into other channels that you engage with, if the website doesn't work and their Facebook page doesn't work, that 61% is only going to increase. So, what are the customer's expectations? Well, they know that for years that they were built out into segmentations. And they knew they were being grouped in with other people that were alike and being delivered the same message. Knowing that now, they expect you to move beyond that, and they want to become a little bit more. And from the brand side, we know that it's hard to do segmentation. It's difficult. It takes a lot of man hours, and it doesn't scale up. So the customer really wants you to get down to zero segment marketing. They want a unique experience that's aligned just for them, that gives them a unique way to engage with the brand. We just talked about how customers want you to engage with them, but really, what's in it for the brand? Well, we can see across the board some really heavy numbers moving in the right direction for brands that actually engage on a personalized level with their customer. We can see that most brands that are doing this see a 19% increase in potential sales lifts. You're seeing 6 to 7 times higher conversion rates, right? And you see that 55% of respondents are working on systems to extend marketing view of the customer, right? Right now, currently, 74% of brands cannot recognize their customers in real time, which is very limiting when the customer's expectation is that you will engage with them in a journey that's optimized for them based on what their actions are. So knowing all this information, where do we start? Some brands will go out and they will say that they need a new automation tool. And so they rip out their whole automation system, they put in a new orchestration tool, and engage differently. That oftentimes doesn't solve the problem. Where we really see the start of this problem to start fixing it from the ground up is from the data side. So, from the data side, what we want to do is we want to bring all data together. What we typically see in a lot of brands is that they have siloed data. Data that is in different parts of the organization or different tools and functions within the brand that house these data points that give you a real view of what the customer is doing in each channel. So you can see here, just from the engagement silos, 62% right, have 6 to 20 customer engagement systems. Those are 6 to 20 different engagement systems that have data on how that customer likes to interact within each one of those silos, right? But as a marketer, in order to engage with those customers and build that customer journey for them, right, you need to have access to those data silos. We're currently seeing that only 6% of marketers have a complete view of their customer from all those available data sources that are out there. So, a CDP can help brands engage with those different silos, pulling out data to help create a golden record. From here, we can find out really a lot of different information about each one of their users and build that together from each of those siloed data points. So if one data silo has your physical touch points, right, such as mailing address, physical address, their name, whereas your email service provider has the email address and the name of that person that goes along with that email address, we can pull that out into one single view of that customer. So as you can see here, we have a series of touch points such as physical, web, email, e-commerce, device, social, and transactional. If we pull that all together, we start to get a really good view of the customer and how they like to engage in each one of those touch points, as well as the necessary information that's there. That data point doesn't become siloed, it becomes part of a greater asset that you can use down the road. So, not only do we want to pull together that information, but we want to pull together previous information around your customer. So, one of the big factors out there is understanding your customer from anonymous to known. So, not only after you understand your customer and you start getting all that information and pulling together that golden record, you want to go back and find out what other actions that customer did before you knew who they were, as well as combining that with the current information that's going on so that you have a better understanding of how that customer is working with you on a day-to-day basis and how they have changed engaging with you over time. So a great way identity resolution comes in is in the very beginning, you won't know who that person is. So they just came to visit your website once, you hadn't engaged with them much, and we put a cookie and tag on it. When they come to visit again, we get a little bit of a better sense of who they are. We're gaining more information as they're coming to the site, and we're caching that information in the background so that we can put it into their golden record as they move forward. Say they start to purchase something, right? We're getting a better understanding of who that person is. We're starting to combine that with likelihood of information that's within the CDP, and then we can start building out that information to make sure that that robust data has a history to it and it's not just then and there. If they visit again on a mobile site, again, just continuing to improve on the data and interaction, and you're seeing we're getting a really good view of who this person is. We've finally gotten them to the point of sale where we're starting to get a good visualization of who they are and learning their patterns of how they've actually purchased with us. All the way through to when they register a product with us, and we can now know who that customer is, and we can take that journey where we didn't know who they were all the way up to when we knew who they were and combine that with their golden record so we have a history of how they've engaged with us over time when we finally learned who they were, and we can start making better decisions on who those customers are and how they work with you. So your benefits are to identify the customer's activities and preferences, right, and drive engagement from knowing more about your customer. So this is all coming into a goal of understanding the customer and really getting a single customer view. From here, you'll be able to build that information that'll always be on and always updating on how that customer is engaging with you on a day-to-day basis, or a month-to-month basis, or whatever you're counting as an active user. So here, you can see this. This is a visual representation of the single view of the customer. We can actually see transaction summary, we can see lifetime value, we can see the last transaction, we can even see all the way down to their birth date, their email, and things about them. We're really getting personally identifiable information about this customer that'll always update. As we learn more, we start to get customer journeys and insights. We get to view their previous campaigns, previous engagements that happened over time, and then also start to understand what levers they typically like to engage with. So in this example, you can see that email is a big lever for Carlos. He doesn't engage so much on SMS. So we're starting to understand and get a better view of what channels Carlos prefers to engage with, as well as where he likes to purchase his stuff and where he doesn't like to engage with, so you can spend your time engaging with Carlos where he is. Now you have all this information, and it's built up into a really nice, robust customer profile that's always on, always updating, and always moving forward. So what exactly do you do with that data? How do you leverage that for engagement? So 41% of U.S. consumers said that they've ditched a retailer or brand because of poor personalization. These brands are not taking the information they have at their fingertips and turning that into engagement with the customer that's a more personalized feel for them. This is where we want to talk about the path to purchase, or journey optimization. Each user is a single person, and we talked in the very beginning about how each user wants a different journey that's unique to them and not a static, linear journey that every customer goes through. So you can see here you have Mary, Joe, and Susan. Mary, Joe, and Susan have very different purchase paths or next best actions, right? From here, as we start to build that customer profile, we combine analytics to learn more about how to evaluate these customers and what happens in their journey. The more information we get on the back side, the more information you can start to predict of how they would engage with you in the future. So as you can see, they've each bought one thing from us: a table, a jacket, or shoes. Now, fast forward to later on, you can see that they've made a second purchase. Our propensity score has actually updated from the previous slide where they were in the 70s. We're now seeing propensity score to buy in the 80s and 90s, as well as different purchase paths as we're learning how they like to engage and how each path is changing based off of the user's behaviors. It's really moving from that segmentation down to that journey for each individual person that's driving more personalized engagement based off of the data and information you get on a daily basis. So, the next question that always comes up is, how personalized do I actually want to get? Well, with that information on the back end and understanding the customer even more, some customers are more comfortable with certain engagements than others. Some want to be more personalized information based on a different touch point or channel. So from here, we get a better understanding of the maturity and complexity scale. We want to understand that each customer, and as we learn each customer, we can understand what channels they prefer more personalized information in, whether it's email or SMS versus maybe social channels. So we can actually engage with them on a personalized spectrum that's a unique journey to them, but within their comfort zone, depending on where they want to go. So again, taking this information, learning about what the customer wants, and engaging with them in the right way, on the right channel, in the right context. How do we do this? At RedPoint, what we like to say is you need a customer engagement hub. Not only having a CDP, but an actual hub that overlays over all the top of your silos, all the top of your interaction channels, to make this a really smooth interaction. At RedPoint Global, we believe in the open garden concept, meaning that you should be able to use best-of-breeds devices or technologies to make sure that you're engaging with your customer in the right point of view. But it always starts with a single customer view. From there, it's always moving to next best action by understanding what the customer wants, learning from those data points, right? Predicting what comes after a previous sale or what the next sale might be based off of what their previous behaviors were, right? And then finally, personalizing those experiences moving forward so that you have a good understanding that the customer is getting a unique journey and it's specialized to them, and you're getting more information on how that customer likes to work with you. So moving forward, I'd like to talk about a couple of examples of companies that we work with and how they're actually engaging with their customers in a couple of different areas to drive engagement based off of personalized data and information. The first company that we work with very closely is Xanterra. This is a travel collection. They have a series of 24 different brands within their world, things ranging from Windstar, sailing or cruises, all the way down to Yosemite Parks to Vermont bicycles. Each individual brand within Xanterra was responsible for their own data and engagement. But how do you engage with those brands across the umbrella? Xanterra had 100+ different data sources, right? They used 7 different reservation systems based off of those 24 different brands, right? But they had over 20 million unique visitors every year. That's a lot of different data. So what happens when I go on a Vermont bicycle tour, but then I go to Yosemite National Park? Their systems weren't talking to each other. With the Customer Engagement Hub, and we engaged with each one of these data sources, we pulled together golden records and were able to share information across the brands to better drive expectations of what the customer wanted and needed. You can see at the very bottom, we saw a 91% year-over-year revenue improvement just by pulling together the data and being able to share that data across the 24 different brands to engage with the users that had been in different locations in a more personalized way. The next brand I'd like to talk about is one of the bigger consumer brands out there today, and I'm sure everybody has a Keurig machine. Keurig was really looking for new ways that they could do product recommendation based off of a user's data points. Keurig is using ABN testing and product recommendations on the back end based off of preferences that their customers typically like to push forward different K-Cups that customers might want to work with or try new ones or stay with depending on the data and information that's on the back end. From here, we've actually seen a 70% lift on carousel conversions as K-Cups come scrolling by people who see them on the Keurig site. And we've seen a 144% revenue increase from the campaigns that they run, driving people to this ABN test where they can choose different products that they can try out based on the customer's information on the back end. Lastly, I want to talk about Screwfix or Kingfisher, right? This is a do-it-yourself store. What they wanted to do is they wanted to move their customers to buying stuff into a real-time engagement. Now, real-time is interesting because real-time is all about the perception of the customer. So, for example, Screwfix was working with customers and they would place orders online and have to pick them up within a few hours. By understanding the customer's wants and needs, as well as product recommendations that they might get on the back end, we were able to cut that down to a 5-minute window. From this, right, Kingfisher got to see a 99% uptick in time to compression and data to action. So they were giving a more real-time feel. Customers didn't have to wait as long, giving them a more personalized experience moving forward and how they engaged with Screwfix. This is quite incredible as they had over 50+ data sources to move this forward. So lastly, how do you actually build this? We at RedPoint like to think of this as a blueprint, right? We talked in the very beginning of how do you actually start. Well, like a blueprint of a house, you always start with the foundation, and your foundation is really around your data, right? Building strong data that can come together in real time and is always on, right? Your customer data platform will help you get across that, right? It'll build all your data sources out with cadence and variety. From there, you want to understand your customer and recognize them from anonymous to known. So you start gaining that history of data that you can start making decisions on moving forward. Things like identity resolution and respecting people's privacy and how they want to be talked to. Lastly, it's going to be delivering real-time customer experiences. We talked about how customers really want that unique experience to engage with a brand, and they don't want to be segmented into just a specific group, something very specific to them. So with that information, you can now deliver real-time customer experiences, right, with speed and agility that's based off of data in the channel that they would like to engage with. I really appreciate everyone talking today. If you have any more information, please contact me. My email is aaron.brennan@redpointglobal.com. And if you would like to see the solution brief that goes along with this presentation, it's right there at the bottom, www.redpointglobal.com/retail-imperative. So thanks for joining us. And Debbie, I will back to you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Great examples that you shared. I think that that really highlights everything that you talked about during the presentation. So I think that's going to be real beneficial for our audience. So I just want to remind everyone that if you have questions for Aaron, please feel free to submit them. If we're not able to get to them, he'll be able to follow up with you afterwards. But we do have a couple of questions that have come in to this point, so I'm going to kick off the Q&A. So, Aaron, one of our attendees wants to know, where do business rules come into play in the path to purchase?
That's a great question. So at RedPoint, we like to think that business rules go hand in hand with your analytics. So it's not just machine learning and analytics that's making all your decisions, but it's a combination of business rules that go along with the analytics that give you your next best offer. So you place the business rules, and then the analytics make decisions based off of those business rules to give the next best action. We don't want to take the decisioning all the way out of anybody's hands, especially based on, depending on what the company's goals are, the company or brand's goals are. The business rules could benefit that greatly that the machine learning won't be able to do.
All right, terrific. Thank you. The next question, it's a little high level, but I'm hoping you can take a stab at this. Where does personalization have the biggest impact?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know.
Yeah. So personalization is really key depending on who you're talking to, right? And I think we touched on that a little bit in this presentation here. Personalization has the biggest impact when you understand the user and you understand where the user wants to be talked to and the preferences of where they like to engage. So a great example is, I really like to engage on email, and so for me, having a more personalized email would be really beneficial. Whereas somebody else might not engage with email very much, or they get too much spam and they've started to ignore it. So they want to see more personalized effects in their SMS messages or maybe in a Facebook message, places where they spend more time and they're looking for more personable interactions based off of the way they expect to engage with each one of those channels or touch points.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it's not necessarily based on any high-level part of the journey, but it's the individual themselves and where their preferences lie.
Yeah, it's really getting back to we're all very unique and we all want to engage uniquely with brands moving forward. With that, you need to be able to converse as a brand with the customer like you're a person.
Absolutely. All right, here's another question. How important is identity resolution in the customer journey?
Oh, so identity resolution is incredibly important. For a number of different reasons. One reason is because I'm not only a digital person, right? I have experiences outside of digital, whether that's when I call up a 1-800 customer service number or if I go into the store and purchase something. My behaviors will change based on where I am. So identity resolution really takes a lot of those data silos and pulls it together to really get to know me, not only where I am on the digital side, but how I engage on all aspects of the brand, as well as the identity resolution to know who else I engage with. We like to call householding, right? So if I engage with my mother when I go to the store in a different way, we know that that's a householding issue and that's an identity resolution, that I engage with things differently based on who I'm with and when and where I'm with them.
All right, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's what customers are demanding these days. They don't want to, be engaged in an activity at home on their PC and then walk into the store and not be known. So
right, and have a totally different experience.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
That's the best way to lose a customer, right?
Yes.
All right. So I think that we're going to wrap up the presentation for now. But again, I want to remind everyone, if you have additional questions, please send them in before we wrap up, and Aaron can reach out to you directly afterwards. So thanks again to Aaron for the presentation. It was really informative, and the examples were terrific. So with that, I'm going to let everyone know that you can still register for more sessions. And our next session is titled Optimizing the Omnichannel Journey, which is taking place tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks to all of you for attending today, and enjoy the rest of your day.